Please say hello to Isabella Rossellini.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks.
Excellent. I think I'm excited to talk to you about this film, but the last time you were here, we were talking about animal sex, and you were dressed up in, you were dressed up as the animal. We weren't having it here. But this one, I mean, this is a film called Enemy. There's a very bizarre species appearance in this film as well. How did you get caught up in this Canadian film that is super odd?
I have a very tiny role, but I'm a very good, great fan of Denis Villeneuve. But of course, as a director, but also as a person, he's just the most charming director. So I was delighted to work with him. And of course, the producer, Denis Villeneuve, I've done several films with him. And I love his choices because he's a producer who is an author by himself. You know, he really does films that are very daring. And I seem to like the scripts that are not the usual commercial, straightforward. So this one is also very haunting, very mysterious, a real film.
We're not going to give it away, but when you saw the last scene, what word came out of your mouth?
Whoa! I went like this.
Because my reaction was what? What? And then it was over. But I didn't feel cheated by the ending. I thought that the ending was true to the madness of the film.
I loved the ending. And to me, it made me think of Kafka.
Yeah.
It made me think of this very sophisticated art. Again, cinema has always been a very popular art.
Right.
So you don't have the sophistication that you can find sometime in literature or in paintings. But of course, that kind of filmmaking exists.
Why do you think that is? Because I know that if you look at mainstream art, more people have seen dogs playing poker, that piece of art, than have seen, you know, something more beautiful. I just, for the first time in my life, as an older man, went to see the Louvre. And there were things that I'd never seen with my own eyes before, and I thought, wow, that's fantastic. Even if I didn't understand it, which was often the case, I thought, that's fantastic, that piece. But more people had dogs playing poker on their wall, right? And so it's a smaller audience, but why do you think it is that we as a people go there, to the more mainstream, easy, non-ambiguous stories?
I think when it comes to film is more expensive than painting. Yeah. So painting, you are exposed, so you can accept Picasso, who's by now is a mainstream painter. Everybody can like or like certain things of him and other things less. But when it comes to film, there is so much money. A film costs so much because so many people are involved. Then producers tend to say, you know, it has to be easier. So narrative, it can be understood. It could be more traditional film. Just, I think, is the cost.
So in a way that if people were to look at your career in totality, there are parts of it that seem very obvious, and there's a beautiful woman who's photographed for her beauty. There's a transference into film as well, and then you go into these blue velvety things, which are amazing. But
I'm not photographed for my beauty anymore.
Well, I disagree, as do the rest of us. But that's not the only reason anymore. Then you add this idea of being interesting to the equation, and then you dress up in animal costumes, and then you start to, you know, talk to people about how animals have sex and how they relate to each other. Then it starts.
This is another film. I have to explain it to them. It's not the same film.
This is the abstract. You really like. If blue velvet is usually the line for most people, you're over here now.
Well, so I started directing my own films, but I've always interested in animal behavior. So or animals in general. So when
you're studying animal behavior now,
yes,
right?
I am. Okay. I'm taking a master's degree on animal behavior. So when you know, and when you read the science and biology, it's crazy. So I thought, my God, you know, there is so much more to tell in films. One of them is how praying mantis or flies or worm mate. Praying mantis, they eat their husband while they're mating. Right. How do you like that?
Well, you know what?
I mean, it's worth telling the story.
When I saw that and I read that, I didn't think it was that dissimilar from real life. It's just in real life, they just eat their husband over the next 25 years, right? Until everybody collapses. But so as a kid, were you interested in this sort of thing?
Always. Yeah. I was always interested in animals. And you know, when I was a teenager, I thought that maybe I'll become a filmmaker, making film documentaries. And I did. I mean, my dream when I was a little girl was to be hired by National Geographic or work with David Attenborough. But it didn't happen. I became a model. That was fantastic. I loved my career as a model, and then I evolved into being an actress. But now that I'm older, of course, there is less work available for me. So I went back to school and start making my films. So I'm still doing films, and I am now totally satisfying my curiosity that I had throughout my life.
A lot more to get into, more with Isabella right after this.
When we come back, Isabella's series Mamas and why it's sometimes okay to eat your young. The key word there being sometimes.
One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 8 is enough.
You sometimes feel like you're getting away with it?
Oh, I get away with it. That is my series Mama, on different ways of being a mother. You think they're always loving and self-sacrificing, but probably not. Some mamas, if they have too many babies, they eat a few. So they recoup some vitamins and protein and cut down the litter. Some mamas is a cuckoo that abandons the baby in the nest of another mama that is not even of the same species and let them be raised by another mother. They have fantastic different ways of solving child rearing.
So you were really prepared to play a mother with ambiguity in this Denis Villeneuve film, and it's called
Absolutely
Enemy.
Nothing for me to play that.
That moment you had the big career, and then Lancôme, of course, and it separated, and then there was the conversation about aging as a model and all that. When you look back on that time, what do you think?
Well, there's still a problem that I haven't understood how it continues to be perpetuated, because I think a lot of women feel offended that the image of women in the fashion magazine, and fashion, of course, is an industry that is addressed to women, are generally very thin, very tall, very young. And the majority of women are not so thin, not so tall, not so blonde. And there is something a little bit offensive. But the industry says that they address the dream in women. I don't dream to be skinny and tall. So I don't know. You know, it's always been a problem. I mean, the problem was that I worked for many years as a model and did major campaign. And then when I was 40, I was very successful. I was asked to leave. And the reason was given that at 40, a woman loses her appeal, or at least her appeal in advertisement. I don't know. I'm not so sure they're right.
No, I don't think they're right at all. But tell me, and I know this is overly simplistic, but if that's true, why do those magazines sell so much?
Well, you know, they have a point, and that's the problem.
So it's a larger cultural issue?
I think, yeah, some people call it ageism, like, you know, like racism, or, you know, there is something that is in our culture, so that we need to change the culture first, instead of just condemning the magazines, because the magazines they have to sell to perpetuate, and so...
Women have to learn the trick that men learn, is we go see movies made by Kevin James and Ray Romano and Adam Sandler for a reason. So they're the bar. And then we can live up to that. What a pleasure to see you.
Thank you.
Isabella Rossellini. The film is called Enemy. It's a really cool film, and he plays a meaningful key role in it. We'll be right back.
Thank you.